the numbers are much better than what we projected. So we're starting to see that compounding effect is really what's happening is, there's just enough users and enough people in the system that they're using more of the add-on products and, we're processing more volume. And so it's starting to have that compounding effect. And so I really just admitted to myself this month, I think we're seeing it. I think we're seeing it. And that's exactly where I feel like, okay, maybe for me, it's almost I can exhale. I've been holding my breath for 4 years, so maybe I can breathe. So we'll see.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. I'm your host, Greg Head, and this week my guest is my friend, Robin Eisler, the CEO and founder of BoosterHub. Robin is in one of my Practical Founders CEO peer groups. I know her very well, and I've watched her grow as a CEO, grow this business, do a lot of hard things, get through really big challenges, and build a much more valuable software company that's still in its early stages. So this isn't the story of an exit or, the top of the mountain story. She's still moving up the hill, and you're going to hear it today. It's an amazing story. She's a great entrepreneur and solving a really big problem in a corner of the school and education software market that hasn't been served. She took responsibility to solve the problem herself and get some software made and build it. And now she's got a compounding, full-scale, run your booster club, which is a really full-scale small business with payments and accounting software and CRM and marketing outreach and fundraising and merchandise sales all in one software. Solves the all-in-one problem for high school booster clubs that raise money for bands and sports and the rest. It's a U.S. characteristic as funding has moved on and the volunteers show up. Robin's a great entrepreneur, and I know you'll enjoy this story. Hey, Robin, good to see you. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Greg. It's good to be here.
Yes, I think we saw each other yesterday on a Practical Founders peer group call. You're a member, and for about a year, you've been a member, and we saw each other in the Dallas area, had lunch with some of the members in the Texas area when you came up. But now you're on the podcast. How fun is that?
It's exciting. I found Practical Founders through the podcast. So I feel like it's coming full circle, right? I'm not only became a member and worked with the group, but now being on the podcast.
Yeah. And you're, I would say, still in the relative early stages. You're up and running and moving fast and maturing quickly as a company and as a CEO. But you haven't gotten to the mountaintop and sold the company yet. You're still way in the journey here. So that's the conversation. You're right in the middle of the journey. Things are moving up for you. It's been an adventure, as it always has, every single Practical Founder story. And you're an inspiration to me and the other founders in the group when we work on our businesses together and all of that. So, and you're presumably, you move around a little bit, but you're in north of Austin today?
Just north of Austin. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you consider that Austin? I know it's not easy to get to downtown Austin, the suburbs or whatever.
We're technically the last suburb in Austin, so we're still officially considered a suburb in Georgetown. But Georgetown likes to think of itself as its own little, if we were Manhattan, we would be Midtown, right? Like we're separate from the rest. So
yes, a borough of the Austin, tech scene. Is there any tech scene up there, or is it just good barbecue and what's left of the cows?
There is a big tech scene here. A lot of, Austin's been a tech city for a long, long time with IBM and Dell. And so there's pockets of founders all over the area. Yeah. And Round Rock and Georgetown specifically are in the process of developing some, founder groups and tech support groups and things. It's always, you had to go to Austin before to get to everything. And now it's moving up this way.
Well, I'm in the Texas area. When I got to Dallas 6 years ago, came back to Dallas, my wife wanted to come back to her homeland here. I jumped in and met with people and said, "Where are all the crazy founders?" Right? And they said, "They're all in Austin." And I knew they weren't, but,
Not in
and,
Dallas.
but you're not a typical Austin founder. You're a bootstrapper. You're, in this very niche business. You're not, playing the cool kid game in Austin.
Well,
There's a lot of that.
I try to buy cool shoes just so I can keep up with the
Oh,
Austin founder group, that
excellent.
no.
Very cool.
No, I'm
Well,
just a mom out in Georgetown, out in the country that, saw a problem and built a tool to fix it.
okay. And that tool is BoosterHub. So let's jump right in right now. What is BoosterHub and who's it for? And then we'll get into
Yeah.
the rest.
So, BoosterHub is a software tool for high school booster clubs. So, we serve the athletics programs, the marching bands, the choirs, the theaters, but not on the school district side. We serve the nonprofit booster clubs. And so, we handle everything from their communication to their fundraising to, collecting sponsorships. And we even run concession stands and do point of sale tools for them. So, the idea is that we can take these volunteers who come into these organizations for short periods of time and give them a vertical tool that does everything for them, and then in the end does all the accounting. So it's simple for the volunteers.
And let's just go through the food group. So you're not a huge company yet, like small team, and you're still growing
Yep.
and picking up speed. But you have way more software than companies at your size in other markets. Let's just explain what are the areas or the components of your software so far. It's not a small thing.
No, it's not. So if you took something like Shopify and combined it with Constant Contact and looped in QuickBooks and then added in a chat tool and then a GoFundMe, then you've got Booster Hub. So
I know you
we
have a marketplace for
The
all the
marketplace, yeah, that's
branded
Shopify,
gear and
right?
stuff
Yeah,
like
and
that.
you can buy T-shirts that are designed and ordered through Booster Hub. So it's a really when I say vertical, we tried to include every process that happens in the Booster Club space. So everything from the coordinating volunteers. So we have a scheduler where you can coordinate the number of volunteers who are going to come and work an event.
Yeah.
And we do a ton of communications. We send hundreds of thousands of emails every month on behalf of the clubs, and process just a ton of transactions. So hundreds of thousands of transactions every month.
Right, so payments and orders and,
Payments and
debit
orders
cards
and
and all
billing
that
and
kinda stuff, fundraising. It's a fundraising platform,
yeah,
would you say? I mean, among other things?
absolutely,
Yeah, right.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Can you explain to some of our listeners, my kids were not sports or band folks, my son was robotics as an engineer, which has a version of this, but it's not the same thing, and a lot of our listeners are outside the US. What is a booster club, and how does that work inside a school community?
Yeah, it's a good point. None of our developers knew what a booster club was either when we started. So what has happened over the years, particularly over the last decade, is that funding in the schools for extracurricular activities has been rolled back. And so the family said, hey, we still want to have the marching band. We still want to have the football team, the volleyball team. And so they created these independent nonprofits that work side by side with the school or the school district. And those organizations raise money, and that money goes to buy the equipment or pay the travel fees, or we do pay for a lot of meals for students at the school. So the booster clubs allow families and relatives and communities to support these extracurricular activities for the students.
Then does every school for whatever teenagers 13, 14, 15 to 18 in the US here. Does every school have booster clubs for these activities? Is that a kind of a
So
universal thing? The
yeah,
biggest schools have the biggest booster clubs, of course.
absolutely. So most schools have them. And then in that, a lot of schools have an individual booster club for each activity or each sport. So
Okay.
you'll see some schools have just one big universal booster club. And then other schools will have one for every single sport and activity, down to the debate team or the FFA and things like that.
And these volunteers, let's just be clear, are the parents, right? Who
They're the
care
parents.
and,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Who show up. And so they're temporary people that come in and row the boat. It's like a little business, would you say, right? Let's do the
And not
fundraising. Let's
so
come in.
little.
Yeah.
We have
Wow.
organizations that do $2 million a year. So all of a sudden you have a volunteer parent who's now the volunteer treasurer of this booster club who's trying to manage the books of an organization doing $2 million a year that really needs a full-time staff.
Oh,
And,
right.
and on top of that, these parents are at the busiest time of their lives. Their kids are in high school, they're doing all the
Mid-career. Yeah.
activities, their careers are, and yet these, everyone says, "What's the busiest time of day at BoosterHub?" I'm like, "It's 10 PM." That's when the parent has
Ah,
finished their day and they sat down to do their booster club work,
your third
and that's
job.
yeah, that's when our, any of our support stuff comes in is at 10 PM at night or 8 AM on a Saturday.
Oh, that's right. Okay. And is this part of we have a lot of ed tech, education technology, software that's sold to schools, software that's sold to parents and kids, software that's sold to districts of schools here in the US. Is this sold to schools and districts, or is this an independent, arm's length kind of thing?
So most of the time we sell independently to the volunteers, but we do have a couple of our tools that sell into the school districts. So we do a little bit of business with the school districts.
But schools don't really wanna take responsibility for this. You wanna do it, you go do it,
Yeah, the
this kind of
schools
thing.
really want the volunteers and the booster clubs at arm's length. They want them outside of the school. They don't want any funds commingling or things like that. And so this is a way to have a completely independent tool that doesn't interact with school. And then there's data privacy issues if you're in the school district. So
Oh, yeah.
it really gives the nonprofit its own independent tool.
All right. Well, it makes it very interesting. What a very interesting puzzle. It's not a typical nonprofit. It's kind of put up the tent, during the year and make this, put on a show and raise some money. Is this bake sales and fundraising and candy bar sales? And I don't know what do people do for fundraising these days?
So in fundraising, a lot of it they'll be doing business sponsorships or corporate
Oh,
sponsorships.
okay. Right.
So you'll see that if there's a sign at the football stadium or the soccer stadium, some businesses paid 500 or 1,000 or sometimes $5,000 to be the sponsor. And so we help them collect those fees, to advertise those fees and collect them. And then in the concession stands, we're selling candy bars and popcorn, right? That's
Yeah.
there. And then a lot of the money that the programs collect are fees to the families. So those would be
Okay.
participation fees or
Yeah.
the marching bands are traveling, so their trip fees and things like that.
Right. So this is one of those all-in-one run your business software, the CRM, the transactions, the accounting, right? It's all in one system, that everything, relied on. Is this before Booster Hub, was there one system that could run all of that in a booster club?
No, there's no other tool that does it, completely from start to finish that
Okay.
integrates. The big key with Booster Hub is that we integrate the accounting, and so, that's a
I
huge
mean,
piece.
you include the accounting.
We include the accounting, and so anytime something's sold in one of the stores, it automatically goes onto the general ledger and populates into the reports. So there's no system that has to be downloaded, no data entry,
Or
because
figuring out
again,
from a volunteer who doesn't know what that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
these are volunteers, they don't have the time, and, in a lot of our businesses, we'd build an integration, right? Like, we'd do a Zappy or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, and the volunteers just don't have that. They're not there long enough to set up those processes.
Yes, right. Well, a very interesting puzzle in your users and go to market and business model. Now, there's founders out there that say, wow, you must have a team of 50 people building all of this stuff, and you must be a huge company, built it over the years. But let's give a sense for, which is a practical founder story, how much you could do with a little bit of focus and effort here. How big is the company, team and revenues, customers, whatever you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 2 full-time employees, and then we have a team of 5 contractors that have been with us pretty much from the start. We're heavy on the development side because we have to be to build this much software in this period of time, and we
Heavy
serve.
in the modern era. I got 5
Yeah,
developers, right,
heavy. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
heavy, for us.
Yeah,
We have
yeah,
about, 600 programs, 600 individual booster clubs that use us,
yeah.
and that equates to about 100,000 users. So we're heavy on the user side. So we've had to scale the software internally, quite a bit to be able to handle all the usage, over the years.
Yeah, on top of that, then the volume goes up.
Yeah.
And, I know a lot about you and your business and your ups and your downs from our peer group conversations, obviously confidential here, but one of the things that's common to the school software is there's a rush one time a year, and then things get quiet. Do you have
Mm,
a
yeah,
seasonality and a spike, that goes
we
up and down?
absolutely
Dead zone and a spike?
do. Yeah, August is our Super Bowl. We do, 3 to 4 times in August what we do any month of the year any other month of the year. So we have this huge peak where we, could use 10 times the amount of staff,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
then December, January, and February are a little quiet, give us a little more time, and unfortunately, the cash goes just like that too, so
All right.
it's always, interesting. We get through the summer months, and then we start looking at, how do we get through the winter, but definitely follow the school year.
Well, it's very well known in the education space here in the States where you're selling to districts and schools that have a cycle and, you run, and you get your cash, and then you have to survive the ed tech winter, right? When nobody's buying
Absolutely.
and it's all quiet, no cash coming in, and,
Yep.
not every business has that kind of, seasonality to it.
It's
Um,
interesting,
yeah.
since we've added our, merchandise tool where we're selling physical things, T-shirts and hats,
Yes.
uh, December has been an interesting month because it's historically been our quietest month of the year,
Ah.
but, we're actually on track to double last year, so we're really excited about that, and a lot of that's due to the,
You double
holiday
your
shopping.
revenues, right?
Yes, yeah, so a lot of that's due to the holiday shopping, so we're really pleased with how that's working out.
And you have revenues from, sign up for the software, your SaaS
Mhm,
revenues, right?
uh-huh.
And you have and you have other things like, additions, or do you have add-ons for all of these things? Their point of sale for the cash
Yep,
registers or the merchandise or whatever, but, like, do you have add-ons, as well? Like, that
yep.
charge more, or a big addition, the Pro?
Yeah, we have multiple revenue streams. So we have a couple different subscription options, a standard and a pro, and we just offered a freemium that just came out. And then we have add-ons to that. So our fundraising,
Yeah.
ticketing platforms, and then our merchandise are all additional tools that the users can use. And then we've got a good partnership on the payment side where we have some commissions off the payments. So
Right. You make a little piece of,
yep,
all the money that comes through it with the credit card transactions. And now you have so yeah, it sounds like a massive business that we hear about that private equity buys and layers all these things in, payments and, marketplace with gross merchandise value that comes through it. Do you count if you do, $1,000 in branded, whatever, T-shirts or something like that that come through for the booster club, the band for a certain high school, does that count as into your top line revenue, or do you count the net margin, the piece that you make on that, or
well,
how do you
it
count that?
depends. Yeah, it's interesting. It depends on the tool. Most of it, we count the net revenue.
Okay, yeah,
In some of the tools, because of the way it's booked in accounting, we count the gross revenue. But yeah, our systems since we've started have done almost $41 million worth of sales. So it's a big number. Sometimes I'm always kind of shocked, like, wow, that's huge. We've done that, but but we've helped these programs raise, $41 million over the past 4 years.
and what is the growth rate on that throughput that's happening? So
It's right now doubling every year. So
okay,
we'll do 21 million this year, and so next year we should double to 40. So that just number
right.
blows my mind sometimes.
And as you become the standard and everybody says, "Just get
Just get
BoosterHub,"
bigger.
right? Right,
Yep.
that'll pick up in steam, right? And so double, 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 and you're headed towards 1,000,000,000 of, transacted revenue,
Yeah.
through that
Wow.
in payments and merchandise value and all the rest of that. That's, of course, what you're helping them do, which is get funding and spend it on the Booster
On it
Club
is.
and do it in a, let's say a professional legal way, right, as a
Right.
nonprofit and deal with all of that, which is no small feat. That's amazing. And so you don't have 50 people, but about how much revenue do you have? What can you tell us?
Yeah, we're just about to break $1 million, so
Okay.
we're hoping to do that in 2026, and, that's kind of a big, big,
Your
uh,
milestone?
big milestone in SaaS, as you know, so we're looking forward to that, and, the nice part is when I look at our growth for next year, we don't even need to grow to reach that number. We'll reach
Yeah, I
that with the current
know.
customers, so
Well,
that's
you have
pretty
the
exciting.
benefit of everybody who buys these system of record, run your business software with payments and all these layers is that they're very sticky and
Yeah.
eventually they just kind of compound on top of themselves. So you've already got that flywheel going.
We've been able to keep the churn really low. We had a little bit early on as we were building and
Of
working
course.
through our, juvenile years, if you will, but we've got that churn down, and most of our customers stay with us a long time.
How much does a average booster club? I know you got super huge ones, the biggest schools in Austin versus the little schools
Yeah.
out in the country or whatever. But like, how much does somebody, a booster club, pay you or effective revenue every year?
Our typical contract value for the year is around $1,500 to $2,000, depending
Yes,
on
like
experience.
100 to $200 a month, something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For all of this value. So,
Deal.
I've
Great
seen
deal.
this forever. It's very common. Not everybody sees it, but some people get to 1,000,000 on a couple big enterprise deals in SaaS, right? And they
Well,
don't really have product market fit. They made it up and they got 2, so it's still early. They're still adolescent, but you have over 500 customers, right? And this thing is maturing. You have clear product market fit and flywheel financial momentum and metrics that are coming through the system right now. It's been a long time coming. It's really hard to get those flywheels going when it doesn't show up very fast, and we'll
it
talk
is.
about that. I'm sure it's a little treacherous to white knuckle, doesn't add up to much when you have just 100 customers or something like that. So,
It it takes a while, and it's just like, a lot of the things that we found along the way, one of the things that was our weakness became our strength, and so the
ah,
nice part is, we have almost 600 individual customers, so we're not gonna lose half of our business
yes,
if somebody
yes,
leaves, and it also forced us to figure out our go-to-market strategy. We couldn't if you get one
you
big
can't
customer,
sell.
you
Yeah,
can
right.
kinda fake it, but no, we had to figure it out, and we've got a, you know, repeatable pattern that we can do, and we know what results that it yields, and we're tweaking that all the time to see if we can increase it, 5% here and 10% there. And I feel like it's just building the foundation so
Yes.
that then we can start talking, partnerships or affiliates or things like that in a few years, but we're going to know exactly who our customers are and how to get them.
Awesome. Well, I've been through this journey myself. I've seen hundreds of founders go through it where you're out there building this crappy thing and you get up and running, you get 10 customers, you're begging to get customers and everything. And, you keep going with this and the flywheel is started. Eventually, you're going to show up at you're going to meet somebody on a plane and they have high school kids and you say, are they in band and sports? And what Booster Club software to use, and they say BoosterHub, right? Like, I mean, that's where these things go. The compounding ends up like that. So,
Yeah.
and you're in a vertical. All verticals are niche markets, but it's a pretty big vertical. It just happens to be low price point. How many booster clubs are there in the U.S.?
So the estimation is around 50 to 60,000,
Yeah,
and that number is growing every year because, the funding
the
keeps
funding
getting
ways.
cut.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then we estimate about half of those are big
Yeah.
enough, strong enough to, use our software. So we're aiming
Okay.
for 50% of that market.
Right. So you got 500 and you're heading that direction. I totally see it.
Yep.
And I know the flywheel has started and we're going to hear more from you about, how you've created this and, how you're running it. It's really quite impressive. And, you're an impressive, founder yourself. This wasn't your first business adventure. How did you get into this booster club business?
Well, it's a really interesting story. I had been a private jet broker for all of my career and
Yes.
had a business that I started with my father. We ran it together for about 15 years, and then I decided to buy him out and try to put the gas on it, which we did, and we
Yeah.
grew 100% every year for 3 years, which was great, unusual in
Way to go,
that
kid.
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so 2017, our biggest competitor kinda got sick of us taking their deals and bought us out, so that was a, fun process, and then I had an opportunity in 2018 to just take some time off. And I had 3 kids that were in high school, sophomore, junior year, busy, and I thought this is the time of life to do it, so I took 2 years off and just focused on the kids. Well, I hadn't been off for a week and somebody called and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
can you run the booster club for us?" And next thing I found myself running, a volleyball booster club here in Texas, and just this little business that does $50,000 a year, and now I'm
Well,
applying all
right.
my
It's just like
yeah,
5 minutes a
yeah.
week. Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
I'm applying all my business tools to it, this
Yes.
is how this should
Yeah.
work. And it wasn't actually till I was leaving the booster club, so I was trying to decide what I
Your
wanted to
kids
be.
had grown out of that
Yeah, the kids
and
were going to
graduated.
college. I was trying to decide what I wanted to be when I grew up, and, I was like, "I've gotta turn this over to the next person," and I'm using 18 different pieces of software to run this booster club,
Yes.
and no one's that crazy. No one else will do that. No one else will have all
Yes.
these logins and learn how to use this system and that system, and so that was the idea. I was on a plane, came home and told my husband the idea, and, he thought it was a good idea. So I looked up had a couple name ideas and then looked up boosterhub.com, and it was available on GoDaddy, and, it was, $6,000.
Oh, somebody had it and they were selling it. Yeah.
No, it was available, but they considered it a premium domain.
Oh, yes. I get it. Right.
$6,000 domain, and had it
Mm.
been $20, I don't think BoosterHub would exist because I would have bought it for $20 and I would have walked away and I'd have had it in my bank of business ideas. But when I had to pay 6,000 for it, I waited until Sunday and thought about it for 2 days, and I was like, "Okay, I think I'm gonna do this." So it was the fact that the domain cost $6,000 instead of 20 is the real reason we exist, because I
Yeah,
had to make
skin in
a
the game.
commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to make a commitment right there. So, bought the domain, and on Monday morning, I sat down on my computer and Googled, "What is a SaaS?" And, "What does UI mean? What does UX mean? What does DevOps mean?" And started from there.
Yeah, so, it's one of the I think, the best opportunities in the world, which is a vertical challenge that everybody you can't find a system that does it, and everybody's still using 12 tools. There's still
Mhm.
opportunities like that out in the world,
Absolutely.
and, they're fewer than 10 years ago by far, but, you found one of them. Were you thinking you wanna get into the software business? I mean, Robin, I know you, and, you're a go-getter, and you're attacking problems. You care a lot, and you're a system builder and all of that, but it seems like the complete opposite of this deal-making private jet to movie stars and billionaires, deal-making schmoozy game of brokering jets. Like, it's the opposite, isn't it?
So do you wanna know my dinner party status used to be much higher when
Okay, you're the coolest kid at the dinner
you're the
party because you
coolest
just
kid
saw
at the
Tom
dinner
you just sold
party.
a yeah, plane
Yeah,
to
when
Tom
you
Cruise
just
or
sold a
something. Yeah.
jet to, Tom Cruise or Tyler Perry, you're the coolest person in the whole room. When you come in and you say that you own a software company, then everyone turns
No.
away. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
the
right.
next person."
Sorry to hear that.
So so I lost my dinner party credibility. No,
Not at my dinner parties. Those are the cool kids. So,
yeah.
yes, right.
So, airplanes are volatile and, you can't plan that business from one year to the next, and I really wanted to spend 5 to 10 years to build my next business and at the end have it, have some compounding growth, and so
Yes. Uh-huh.
I had heard that software was a good way to do that, but it really wasn't super intentional. I didn't get into it for that. It was mostly to see if I could start this thing and if it could do some good and we could have some
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Well, how fun has it been for you, Robin? I mean, this is the founder question, which is,
Yeah, that's
how was your year? Oh, it was terrible. We only grew 50%. I wanted to grow more. And then we had 100 hard things and so forth. But, how's it going?
it's been a really, incredible experience that it's funny the things that you don't know. I always think if I knew now.
Yeah.
If I knew then what I know now, I never would have started it, right? Like, I had no idea the risks involved or the time involved or what it was gonna take, but, no, it's been great. As you know, our CTO lives here on our property, so we, you know, eat, drink, and live BoosterHub
And
on a
where is he
daily
from? Just you
basis.
can
Yeah,
describe it here.
our
No.
CTO's from Pakistan,
Yeah.
and
And so
and
was he the first CTO? You finally found a partner that could help build your vision, 1.0 and 1.1
yeah,
and 2 all that? Yeah.
we got kind of lucky. We started out with a U.S. software firm, and first 6 months worked with a group, and then it became really clear that we were going to need to move some stuff offshore if we were going to
For
actually get
cost?
this thing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
if we were gonna survive, let's be honest.
Your vision kept getting bigger, right, yeah.
Yeah, if we were
Yeah,
gonna survive and get this thing built. So we went out offshore and connected with the team there, and, our current CTO is a member of that team, and we
yeah,
were, able to find someone that was as passionate about the project as we are, and that was really what it was. Usama had a lot of passion for BoosterHub,
yeah. Yeah,
and
great, and
w
I'm sure
we got
you
really
created
lucky.
some of that for him. Yeah.
Yeah, we, uh, we applied to the H-1B process,
Uh-huh.
which in 2022, which at this point in time, we wouldn't be able to do, so we were lucky we did it when we did, and he won the lottery and got an H-1B and spends about 2/3 of the year here and a third of the year in
Yeah.
Pakistan, and that's really accelerated our ability to build software. So, when you're sitting here and you've got a question and we can, sit
Same
down
room.
it
Yeah.
and, you need to go through iterations quickly to get something out to production. One of the things that I always brag on our team about is our ability to build something, build it well, and build it quickly. And
Yeah.
I think that's been our strength. We've just been able to get a lot of good tools out there. And, we see a problem, whether it's a system problem or a user problem, this is not the way the user intended to use this tool, then we get it fixed, and we move very quickly to get that done.
Okay. So you started this company. You had a vision in mind. You were solving your own problem, right? You
Mhm.
could see what was needed. Maybe you externalize this a little bit, then everybody does that. But when you shipped your first version to friends or those first customers, did they have the exact vision of what you had in your mind about booster clubs?
You
Crazy
know,
booster club lady who created all this hyper system.
everybody was excited about a tool, but everybody wanted to use it slightly differently,
Ah,
and so, I think that's the hard part when you're just getting started. You definitely need a beta group to get software out there to have people look at it because it never fails. We build something to go this way and our users want to use it this way. And it happens every single time. We're
sure.
planning for the user to look at it in one direction. The user looks at it in a different direction. So we've learned now we put it out there much sooner than we used
Uh-huh.
to get it in front of the users because we'll know in a couple of days their feedback and then we can refine it from there.
This podcast is brought to you by my friends at Fullscale. 2 years ago, I interviewed three-time software founder Matt Watson on this podcast about his successful practical founder journeys. Matt leveraged offshore software development talent in his last two SaaS companies to staff up quickly and grow efficiently. So for his fourth venture, Matt created Fullscale, one of the fastest growing software development companies in any region. Fullscale vets, employs, and supports over 300 professional software developers and testers in the Philippines who can augment and extend your core dev team. I know several practical SaaS founders who use Fullscale's dev talent to make progress on their products and do it efficiently. Visit fullscale.io to learn why their approach works so well for so many SaaS founders. Now back to our program. Okay. And do you call that an MVP or what do you call
Yeah,
that?
we call it an MVP. So anytime we ship something new, we've got an MVP version out there,
Yeah.
getting people to look at it.
That works, but you're ready for the feedback. I guess you're bracing yourself for the
Yeah.
adjustment that's coming. Okay, so do you have any outside funding in the company? And I know
Uh,
there's revenues now, and it wasn't
yeah.
always revenues, but any investors?
We don't have any investors, so we've bootstrapped it from the beginning. We have taken on a little debt over the past 2 years to kind of
Uh-huh.
get us to profitability. So
Yeah.
really excited. We're right there. We'll
And
we'll
then
reach.
we is Who is who? Did,
Yeah, it's the family. So, myself and my husband, and then all of our kids are owners of the business, and our CTO is now an owner of BoosterHub as well. So
I
we've
thought you
got
said your CTO is now part of the family, right? So,
yeah, well, that too, you know?
right. So you were the, let's say, the business side founder, the person who
Mhm.
experienced in verticals, the person who experienced the problem and had the expertise of it. You weren't the technical founder. Would you consider Osama your, technical co-founder, and all of that?
Yeah, definitely. We had a good portion of the software built before he came on board, but he's
Okay.
definitely he keeps me straight. I come in with the big ideas and the
I
salesman
know.
pitch, and he tells me what's possible, and, so it works well, that we've got both sides of it, and then I'm just technical enough to be dangerous. I'm a
Mhm.
one of those go on one of
Yeah.
the AI tools and build
Yeah.
something in a day, and that also helps because I give them a little push, like, "If I can build this in a day, you should be
Yeah.
able to build it in a week in a really, big version." And so, it keeps us pushing forward, but I actually do all of our product design,
Oh, okay.
and do all of our page layouts and all of that. So the company that we worked with initially, the owner there was really great in teaching me how to build software. So he taught me the
Yeah, there we
process.
go. That's good.
I participate in our Jira board and move task, and I do a lot of our QA. So it keeps me really close to the product, and it's so great when I'm doing the QA because I understand what the customer wants to see.
Yes.
And so we've got a QA who does it, but it's helpful for me to come in and take a look at things, and then by the time we get it out there, it's doing what it should do.
Okay, so you've got Osama and 5 developers, and do you have other team members? I know your kids help out, but, you have other team members right now?
We've got a couple of part-time people who work on our customer support team,
There we
do
go.
our
Okay.
demos and that, but no, we keep it close, and we work pretty hard, and we use a lot of AI to get things done.
Okay, so even at, over 500 customers and, millions of transacted volume, and payments every month and so forth, there's the coding side of things. Here's my vision, code it, make sure it's tested, fix the bugs, maintain it, keep it running and all that, even through the spikes. But are you really hands-on for almost everything else? Marketing, sales, financials, support, design, product, priorities, partnerships, are you the point
You're
person
great.
for all that's a lot of hats.
You're making me sound crazy now. Doing all
Okay,
the
well, I'm
yeah,
thinking I want people to hear a version of this, and it's a
yeah,
superpower, like, you're
yeah.
energetic, you're action-oriented,
I think
but you're
it's
not, like, making messes, you're building systems, but you're not you move fast.
Yeah, and I think also, I look at everything in our whole company. If it's something that I'm working on and it takes me more than a half an hour, then that process has to be automated or we have to find someone to do it. And
Yeah,
so, down to like our company accounting, I've had the team build all that out so it's all automated, it goes directly into our financials and all I have to do is review it once a month. And that process used to take hours. So it was just something
yeah,
like let's just automate it. We've got the marketing down to where we have a system, and I spend 2 concentrated days a month to produce the whole month of content that goes out.
we'll talk about it, it's a
Um,
lot of content, yeah.
a lot of content. We work really hard at that. And then, I mean, I hate to say it, but I probably personally look at almost every support ticket that comes in. At least
Yeah,
skim it on the way in, and that helps us catch things early or find anything that comes in. We do have a team that handles that, but I always laugh. My dad early on did business with Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart. And most people don't know this, but back in the early days, Sam would work the call center, and he would, sometimes pick up a phone and say, "Hi, it's Walmart, Sam speaking," and you'd be talking to Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart. And I joke because a lot of times, I'll be on support and I'll answer a ticket, and people are like, if your boss knew about this, and I'm always looking behind me thinking, "Well, I wonder who the boss is."
I wish I had a boss, yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff, so
No, but it works out well the way we have our system set up. We've just done it, and I mean, it's technology, right? So anytime we see something that's taking a substantial amount of time, how do we automate it? How do we make it more efficient?
right.
And then we've got a great team of people who are able to fill in the small gaps that we have.
Yeah, and kind of a volume-oriented business, hundreds of customers, millions of transactions, all that kind of thing. You can't really plug the holes manually very long, right? It has to hurry up and get into a system or it's gonna overflow and kinda kill you. But I consider you a fast mover. You bump into walls and you come something, and next month you did 5 steps and you've solved it and automate it and a lot of AI in there and so forth. But are you, let's say, a vision pusher forward or a systemizer? You seem to have both of those, Robin.
I think sometimes I don't think my vision is big enough. I know I'm really good at building companies right to this size, to where this one is right now. I can see
Yeah.
that far, but sometimes I can't see the road ahead of that. So I know that's one of my downfalls, but I'm systems are my passion.
You just haven't internalized it yet. You're a figure outer, so,
I
like, you
know,
you know,
yeah.
you haven't figured it out yet, so
I just
haven't
need
done
to
it yet.
see a bigger picture, figure out how to get there. If you
Yeah.
show me the picture, I'll figure out how to get there.
Well, your compounding picture is gonna get, quite large and, quite valuable.
Mhm.
We'll talk about the end game here. So how long have you been doing this with BoosterHub? Since the domain and
Yeah.
version 1, if you're with your first, dev partner and selling it to friends and building the website and all that. When did that really start?
So we bought the website about 5 years ago this month and,
Okay.
incorporated, January of 2021. We launched our MVP in August of 2021 and then had our first paying customer in November of 2021. So we're really 4 years
4
into
years in.
to
Right.
having the product, and year 1, we had 3 customers. Year 2, I'm just looking at my board, we had about 40 customers, and then we went to 100 and then 250, and now we're at, 600. So it's,
Yeah.
we're learning and growing
It
all at the
looks like
same
a trend, Robin.
Yeah, yeah, I hope
Do you
so.
feel like it's momentum in the business and you're just gonna keep doing this, or does it feel like hand-to-hand combat and, who knows if this is the plateau year or something? Like, how do you feel about that?
We had last year, we had 2 competitors combine, and that gave us a little bit of extra growth in 2024, and so we
Because it's
knew
distracting when
Y
competitors combine,
yeah, and
M&A
you're
and
not
all
sure
that,
what
yeah.
to do, and you're getting a little more customers than you probably woulda had, and so I've been very conservative through 24 and 25, but since really our season this year, so since June, we've seen the numbers are much better than what we projected, and
Oh,
so
good for you.
so we're starting to see that compounding effect is really what's happening is there's just enough users and enough people in the system that they're using more of the add-on products and,
Yeah, yeah.
we're processing more volume, and so it's starting to have that compounding effect, and so I really just admitted to myself this month, like, "I think we're seeing it." Like, I
Yay!
think we're seeing
Well,
it.
I always ask this question, you've heard it on the podcast before, like, when did you feel like the system is up or and there's a little product market fit and happy customers, it's not gonna fall over if you don't show up for every 5 minutes? Usually, it's about 1,000,000 in ARR, but
Yeah,
you're maybe a little
right there.
earlier than that, but
Yeah.
headed about that phase, right?
Yeah, exactly that phase. I think we're right there, and that's exactly where I feel like, okay, maybe for me, it's almost I can exhale. I've been holding my breath for
Yes.
4 years, so maybe I can breathe. So we'll see.
Yes, right. Well, you self-funded this, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And so this is always a typical question. How many years did you go without paying yourself, writing checks into the business until it could sustain itself? Are
Yep.
you are you there yet, paying yourself and writing checks, if you can
We,
share
uh
that?
we call that paying to work here, and so,
Okay,
I've
all
been
right.
paying to work here for 5 years, and,
Yeah.
2026, it'll reverse and go the other way, so we're pretty excited about that.
Okay, right. Yeah, glad to hear that. So, when did you know that, whatever you built was good enough to start pushing harder on it? Did you get 10 customers and usually I say, your job isn't to create a multi-million dollar software company starting out. It's to go build something and get 10 happy customers, which generally means you need 20 customers, 10 of which are not happy, right? And you fix enough and you get 10 happy. But,
So I
you
think I always tell a funny story. We had talked about BoosterHub to a few people while we were building it. So we came out with the MVP in August, and so this was maybe April or May. I was in the grocery store, and a gal chased me down, and I knew her from the kids' sports team, and she's like, "Robin, I heard you're building a Booster Club software. Can we get on the list?" And I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's something.
interesting. So that was kind of the idea we knew was needed, and then we started out with 20 beta, groups
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
got a ton of feedback. It was great. Anybody that's starting a software company, like, find 20 people who you can give it to for free, who will give you their feedback on it. And that was super helpful. And then our very first paying customer was actually someone we didn't know. And I think for me, that was when I said, okay, this might be valuable. It's not a friend or a local
Yeah.
group. It was a booster club from South Dakota of all places, and so I knew, okay, this might have some traction, and then
They
really
found
in
you on the web, Booster
yeah.
Club software
Yeah,
and that
we
kind
had
of
done
yeah,
some,
yeah.
a little bit of promotion, and they had found us through that, and, still with us, so our very first
Okay.
customer, we love to say that, so, but yeah, that was really when we started to see it, and then in the first year and then I think this year for me, the software has really matured. You know, software doesn't get really good until it's done something like 10,000 times,
Yeah.
and it just takes sometimes before all the processes have hit that point where just edge cases where this thing
Yes.
no one had ever put in this particular case before, and I
Right.
feel like we've finally worked through the 10,000 on all the because there were so many different tools, that we're getting really good at everything that we do, and then next year, I wanna get us to really great at everything that we do.
I mean, you have a really big software, right? There's like 10 areas, point of sale software and accounting software and fundraising and marketing and CRM and all that kind of thing. Did you kind of build this in pieces and says the CRM is, on version 3 and it keeps improving and this new thing over here that we just launched is on the MVP stage? And do you kind of have this maturity you think about across the product or, do you
Yeah,
just, whatever people are screaming on, you go fix or something like that?
the heart of the product we built all as one, and we had to because it works all together. So,
Yes.
so really our whole database with our CRM, our email tools, our communication tools, those were all built at the same time. We then layered in our store and our accounting, and those 2 pieces came at about the same time.
Yeah.
And so everything now is at least a year old, for our major features, and definitely whenever we're launching some new tools, this month, the debit card and some advanced
Right.
accounting, and we'll consider
The
those
fun
as
continues. You keep
yeah, we'll
adding. Yeah,
consider
right.
those as beta or MVP for 90
Yeah,
days
yeah.
until they get but because we have so many more users on the system, before it used to take us a year, now it
Right.
takes us about a week. In a
Yeah.
week, we can go,
To get
"Okay,
all the feedback.
that's
Yeah, right,
yeah,
yeah.
and it comes fast, don't worry, you don't have to trust me.
Yeah, that's
I'll let
funny.
you know.
Yeah, so you're kind of I mean, there's more demand than you have product when you start, but and this is something we just went through the peer groups, everybody telling their story of their progress in 2024 and their plans for
Mm,
2020 or 2025 and plans for 2026. You know, it's either product or growth, and everybody's got a bit of both, but there's a leaning there, but it sounds like you've been heavy on product, right? And you've
yes.
got a marketing machine as well, but product seems to be maturing, right?
Yes.
Or pretty mature.
I think that's the most exciting thing for
Yeah,
2026 is that every year I've had to do that balance between building product and growth,
yeah,
and I feel like
surviving.
yeah, 2026 is the year where I can just, it's all accelerator, like we're just gonna grow. And that's exciting because it's we're such a small organization, it's my time, right? Like where can I dedicate my time? And so I feel like 2026 is the year that I can really dedicate most of that to the growth.
Okay, you get out of so many support tickets and maybe out of product, the firefight over there.
The
I know you
problem
won't keep your hands out of it, but still.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
building the product, so that's the hard part is I'll probably find
Yeah,
something to build just to get my hands back in it.
yeah. Is there any mobile version or is it just all web-based stuff?
Of course, we have a native mobile app, so
Okay,
we
right,
have
yeah.
both an iOS and an Android app, and then also point of sale and a web version. I mean,
Oh
we're
my
about
gosh.
as complex as you can get from the software
Okay,
perspective.
right. Well, what a feat to have built all of that. I mean, these are like micro small businesses, right?
Mhm.
And, they're not big businesses that pay you 100,000 a year or whatever, but, that's no small feat, and it's kind of a testament to the practical founder way. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you would have needed to raise funding, get dozens of engineers, build, and now you just don't need that between cloud technologies and improvements and, is AI helping? Before we move on to go to market and the rest of
Yeah.
the business, is AI helping on the development side like it is for most practical founders?
I think it's definitely sped up our product design. We just
Okay.
put our new tool through AI for product design, and we, did in a day what would have taken us 2 or 3 weeks to do
Okay.
before.
Yeah, way to
And
go.
our dev team's, definitely starting to use it in coding more. They've been a little hesitant, so,
So
um
AI hasn't been part of your magic on the product velocity side, really, yet?
no, no,
Okay. No, that's a feat you guys have
yeah,
accomplished over there.
mhm.
Right.
We didn't build with
Okay.
Lovable.
Yeah. Yes, right. So, yeah, I'm sure when you get your hands on that and, more things, "I
Yeah.
almost shipped this product today. How come you
Oh
guys
my
can't do
gosh,
this?"
yeah,
I
yeah,
know. All right, so let's talk about the go-to-market. You sold it to friends, you got on the web, you got this trickle, version 1.0 kinda matured. This is a tricky game. You can't go sell to district schools in the US, like, puts enterprise salespeople out there between the price point and how it works, and you can't sell to individual schools, and there's at least there's booster clubs and you're the booster club software. At least there's a logic there, but there's a lot of these. It's very fragmented, and people change every year. What a crazy market to go after. I guess that's why the problem still existed.
yeah. It definitely a lot of the big players in the space avoided this market for that exact reason, and, 1, because they're hard to find, and 2, it's a flaky process. You've got volunteers trying to convince other volunteers to pay money when they're raising money, and then it has to go through a board meeting, and then it's gotta be approved, and, so it's a weird process.
Bylaws and things like that. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so, I have to give a lot of credit to my husband. So he's an Ironman triathlon pilot as well,
Okay.
but he spent 2 years hand scraping the internet, building our database of booster clubs, and so probably, the biggest, key to our growth up to this
That's like
point.
walking uphill in the snow to school both
Those
ways,
those Ironmen are funny. They go do weird things for 20
Yes.
hours, so
Yeah.
he would, sit down every day for 1 to 2 hours and collect, 10, 15, 20 email addresses, and, so we have a really good
Put them in
database.
your email system and that kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, so I would say the first 3 years of growth all came from that, because
Like,
we just
literally in this small marketing driven it was kind of
mhm.
hand-to-hand combat. It wasn't paid ads or
No, no, it
something
was
like that.
sending emails to those folks. And then in the past 2 years, we've really started to see a lot more inbound business, both from
Yeah.
the company being known, and then also we started producing a lot of content around managing a booster club. And so now I'd say we're about 50-50, but our original list still produces almost
Yes.
every day. So
Yeah, manual labor to go
yep,
proactively get it here, do the hard things that don't scale to get the thing pumped here.
exactly.
You guys have a content machine. I'm on some of your lists between webinars, podcasts, blog posts, content, ebooks, all of that, which is intimidating to a lot of vertical founders when they say, well, you can go to the trade shows and you can get this content. They'll procrastinate the content because it's another mountain to climb. But you guys have kinda climbed that mountain, and it's between, and you and your systems, maybe some
Yeah.
AI help.
Yeah, so 100% the AI has been, a game changer on the content side. I To produce as much content as we put out there, 2 years ago, I would have needed a team of 5 people probably to
Yeah.
get it done. And now I do most of it myself with a little bit of help from, some contractors that help us with a few editing projects and things like
Yeah.
that. But it's helpful. It's a never-ending battle. You have to as soon as you put it out there, it's old news,
Yeah.
the algorithm has seen it and it's passed, and so,
Mhm.
as you know, I know you do a lot in this space too.
Yeah.
We have to just continually keep watching and how do we tweak it, and I always laugh because, we have a video out there right now that's approaching 100,000 views in a month, and it's literally I thought it was the worst video I've ever made, and I almost
Ah,
didn't use it, and I literally I made it this summer, but I didn't like it, and so I was just doing an update in November, and I was like, "Oh, I have that video," and I was like, "Ah." probably shouldn't use it. And then I was like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. And it's the piece that went viral, like
Okay.
the one video. So I always try to
So
remember
that's a
what.
bias for action, which is I'll try
Yeah.
something and we'll see, right? And
Yes.
all of us are sensitive to that. We don't want to put out crap and so forth, but
Yeah.
or put it out too early. But you try not to be too precious about it because maybe you don't know what's going to work or something like
Well,
that.
and we talk about this in Practical Founders, like, you're trying to avoid being cheesy or, putting it out
Yeah,
there. Like, it's those hooks that get people in, and
yeah,
I think as business people, we tend to say, "Oh, those hooks don't work." And, even in our messaging, we tweak some of our email sequences, by just a few words, and in my view, we made them slightly more cheesy, and
yeah.
the return was like 1,000%. They worked, so much
Okay.
better than our old ones, and
The
so
ROI on cheesy. There we
yeah,
go.
cheesy,
Yeah.
I it's
Can you
it's
can you describe quickly? It's quite magical in the modern era. One person can be the founder can be the marketing department with enough energy and focus and savvy about the problems and the customers and the tools and all of this. But, you know, about what do you do in those 2 days to create daily published content?
yeah, so in those 2 days, I'm gonna produce probably 20 to 30 videos, and I do those at about 30 seconds each. So, what I do in the month leading up to that is I make a sheet of ideas, and so by
Yeah.
the time I get to that day, I have 10 or 20 different ideas,
You talk to
and then
people, you see things, and you say, "I should make a video about
yeah.
that." Yeah, right.
And I do those all at once because, it takes a little time to get the camera set up and the lighting
Yeah.
and, your production,
The
how
hair.
to the hair, because my hair will
Yeah.
make the blur go
Yeah.
funny. So I do usually between 15 and 30 videos, 30-second to 1-minute videos.
And what's an example of one of those? If you're having a problem getting volunteers, try this or something like that?
Yeah, well, it's all
Yeah.
Booster Club leadership stuff, how to prevent fraud in your Booster Club, how to get more volunteers,
Yeah.
how to increase your fundraising, how to manage the relationship with your school director,
Yeah,
things
all
like
that good
that.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
all the things that boosters will see, and then spend a lot
And
of
that goes
time.
out on all the social channels, I guess, from TikTok
Yes.
to YouTube and all their stuff.
Because we're B2B, but we function a little bit more like B2C.
B2C. Mhm.
So, LinkedIn is not our space. We do
Right.
really well on Facebook. Instagram, we do better than I think we do because I don't know how to do Instagram that well. And we just moved on TikTok at the recommendation of one of our consultants. And so, we're really doing some of that consumer content. And I have a scheduler where I can put it out on all those different channels. And, the hardest part on that is every channel requires a different format.
Right.
So, that's probably what
Size,
takes most
format,
of my
and
time.
yeah, all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
size, and even, LinkedIn posts are better if they're longer, and Facebook posts are better if they're shorter, and,
Use
you know
software or
yeah,
AI to do that?
yeah,
Okay,
we
yeah.
have a tool for that, and so, but I still have to run everything through the tool, so that's what takes
Yeah, yeah.
probably the bulk of the time. And then we do on that same 2 days, I'll update our blog posts, probably half a dozen of those, and
Do you
then
write them or you speak
uh
into Chat
yeah,
GPT or something? Yeah.
Claude's my best friend, so I
Okay.
really I really love Claude, but I come up with the ideas and then usually the 4 or 5 main points, and then run it through Claude and then run it back through an edit on my end. And
Yeah.
then our webinar content. So I really try to bring really fresh content to our webinars. So, these people are volunteers volunteering for their kids' sports team, and they're listening to my webinars at 7 o'clock at night on a Thursday night, and so I
Yeah.
really try to make sure that I give them, like, 15 nuggets that they can take
Yeah,
back
great
and
stuff.
use,
Right. I
and
know you
so
care a lot about these folks, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
care
so,
a lot.
you're
Yeah.
trying to give them something useful, and so, so I try to do all that in 2 days a month, and, usually the webinar gets me and I have to spend an extra day on it, but yeah,
Well,
it's
usually in this volume game, marketing, had somebody head of marketing, like, in charge of this factory, and then the people in the factory doing this, consultants, contractors, employees, whatever. But you're really doing founder-led marketing with the help of AI, right? You don't have marketing staff
no,
or
no,
contractors. Okay.
no. So, the other thing I found is the marketing kind of layers itself. So we do a newsletter, and in the newsletter, it's going to talk about the webinar and the
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
and then then I'm going to take quotes from those and put them into social media. So it's really all one package. And if I had somebody doing it for me, it would probably take me more time because I can get the idea in my head and
Not funny.
iterate it and then get it out there all at the same time.
Okay. And so you're pretty AI savvy, right? With
Yeah.
the LLM tools and you have a lot of automation. When we talk about, does anybody have a tool for this? You usually got something, you pull out and you say, well, I use this and I tried
Yeah.
this and I did this and everything. So
That's
yeah,
survival, Greg. Survival. I gotta survive.
no, that's right. I get it. Well, that's really amazing. When you look forward to next year and the year after that, right? What do
Uh-huh.
you think it's going to be like? Do you think you'll be doing founder-led marketing when things are more profitable and you have this multiplying compounding of 100 million in transaction and so forth? How do you see the dotted line going in the next few years?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So one of the things I've learned about founder-led marketing or creating content is once you have a
Yeah.
library, you've got a lot of content to reuse. So that's one
Okay.
of the things we've been starting to focus on is looking at what pieces brought in the results, and
Repurpose.
so
Yeah. Mhm.
we're starting to repurpose a lot of it because we now have a year and a half of content. So
Okay.
we're starting to repurpose a lot. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that because sometimes it's hard to come up with fresh ideas, but so we're doing that, but I think it also now that we've got the content out there working, it now gives me some time to work on some other channels, and so,
Okay.
I think, when I talk about the growth in 2026 is, okay, we've got this layer working well, we've got our original, you know,
Yeah.
Iron Man
There.
database working well, we've got our content working, we're starting to do paid ads, and so then
Okay.
we can start layering the things on top of each other. So I'm really excited about that, having the opportunity to try and to add new things on, and so that we don't have one channel, we have 10 channels
Right. So you're
bringing
gonna
in.
get to $1 billion in revenue, and you're gonna be multi-product, multi-channel. Is there such thing as multi-region in your this is the matrix, right, for bigger
Right.
company, multi-channel, multi-region, multi-product. Do
I mean, I
schools
guess
outside of the US have this problem?
I guess we could go to Canada. We're currently US only,
Okay,
so yeah, we
okay.
could go
And
to
are
Canada.
there adjacent things? You could be a
Yeah.
very big company just on booster clubs, but does this problem apply to similar things?
Yeah, we have, we're not even in the PTO, PTA space, which is very similar, slightly
Okay,
different, but very similar. And then we've got a lot of organizations that are similar to booster clubs that we can operate in. So we've got a few test runs of other types of organizations on the system, looking to see we've got some college fraternity alumni associations. We've
okay,
got,
yeah,
some neighborhood associations, a few like that. So there's a lot of
okay.
directions it could go. We'll probably stay focused on the
I
ed tech
hope you stay
space.
focused. Like,
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
not dig you get you're built into layers of the cake of this
Yeah.
compounding machine. Don't move on too early,
No,
right?
we're not.
So, that's awesome. But, like, a few years from now, what would you did the hard stuff, Robin. It's been really hard to build
Yeah.
this compounding machine and write checks into the business and have the seasonality stress and all of that. And, there you are at your desk. You're not hanging out with the cool kids in Austin drinking coffee or whatever. But, do you imagine in a couple years, as this thing grows, you'll have more team, more time, more profit, more something, or
Yeah.
what do you think here?
Hopefully all of the above, but,
Okay,
I think my goal is to keep our team lean and efficient. I've talked to you about, I think we can get to 5 million with our current team, so we
okay.
wanna stay
This is a
lean.
modern thing here.
Yeah,
You're hearing it.
stay
Real
lean and
founders,
mean, and,
not
we'll
making it up.
we'll add people as the customers need it, but we've got good systems in place for that, but,
Between systems and AI helping, you don't
yeah,
really need more
yeah,
team to
you
get to,
really get to that.
that's a
You know
10x in your business without doubling your team, you're saying.
And it used to be you had to add team to grow, and
Yes.
we're not in that position. I think we can grow without adding
Yeah.
team, so I'm excited about that, and, I think it's a good question. We all those 3 kids that helped us found BoosterHub are now seniors
Yeah.
in college, and so they're gonna be coming into, the potential to work in the business, although none of them are allowed to work in BoosterHub right out of college. They all have to go
Okay.
someplace first, so,
Okay.
they're all doing that, and then, we'll see, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I wanna make sure that BoosterHub has the opportunity to to grow as big as it can be, and so I
Yeah.
intend to see that through, and then, somebody comes along and wants to buy it, that might be an option, or, the family might take it over, so I've kinda left the options open.
Well, and as the compounding game starts, right, it actually can be a lot more fun than the desperate, manual labor of, the early business where you
Yeah.
have team and systems and high fives and, partnership stuff. There's, different things. A lot of people get over the hill and say, this is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And it's paying me pretty well. So,
Yeah,
there's a possibility for you.
as you know, one of the reasons I joined Practical Founders was to have some fellow founders to talk with because it can be really
Yes.
lonely building,
Yeah.
building this, particularly if you come from outside the space. And so, it's been a hard process. I would never tell anybody that this has been easy. It's been a hard process, and it's a hard
We
process.
can tell how crazy you are right now.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
It's a hard process mentally just to keep yourself going, airplane business was kinda like, drugs. If you wanted to go find a big deal, if you worked hard enough that day, you could go find a big deal and,
Oh, okay.
all of a sudden, you've landed a six-figure deal and you're pretty happy. Software doesn't work like that, and so you're looking at those numbers and you're going, "Gosh, it's gonna look good in June of
I
2026, but it's
see, right, delayed
2025, and how do
gratification.
I get to June?" Yeah, so, it's been super helpful to have, like, the Practical Founder peer group, to have other founders to talk about where they are and how long it took them to get there, and also to know how healthy or unhealthy our business is. So, I was at an event last year, and it was a founder event down in San Antonio, and people were giving presentations, and I still thought of us as a baby. Like, I thought we're just getting started. We don't know what we're doing. And I was at that event, and it was in that moment that I was like, "Okay, wait a minute.
You're
We're
ahead of the
not a
game.
new we're not a newborn, like,
Yeah.
we're like we're an elementary school kid at this point, and then, and being in Practical Founders has helped that too, like, it really gives you perspective. There's groups that are well above us and groups that are, still starting out, and so sometimes I feel like, "Oh, I can give somebody some advice," and then a lot of times, most of the time, I'm like, "Hey, somebody's got some advice for me." So, that's been really helpful and game changing in our business for sure.
And you're sharing some of the stories of things you've gone through recently in your business
Uh-huh.
that other people can hear. Not gonna share it today. It's
Yeah.
confidential stuff there. And, we also talk, as you said, about the personal side, right?
Mhm.
Is anybody else going crazy this month? And anybody else have this problem? It helps to know that, it's way harder for everybody, to go through this together,
And I think
when
even
we
just
meet every month.
the question sometimes, "Are you paying to work there?"
Yeah,
And
right.
and everybody, has different responses, but, like, am I the only crazy person in the world?
And you
Uh,
weren't.
and I
There's the
wasn't. I
punchline.
was
Yes,
like,
right,
"Oh
yeah.
my gosh, hold on, other people are doing this too."
That's kind of the
Um
practical founder way. We're investing in the
Yeah.
compounding machine that we think will be valuable, and, yours is gonna be really valuable someday. You're onto something. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be downhill from here, and you're not gonna have all those,
Yeah.
there's always hard things, for the next
Challenges are
climb, but,
just different.
getting to the first 1,000,000, that's what they all say, the first
Yeah,
1,000,000 and all of that.
yeah.
Um Robin, is there anything else about, like, just your how you see the founder game? I know you love the adventure. Do you like the stress, or is there something about being a
Yeah,
woman founder that's any different than all of this, or,
I don't know necessarily a woman founder. It is
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't think there was an industry that could be more male dominated than aviation, but in the in the few founder events
Oh,
that
that's
I've
right.
gone to, it's the same ratio. Like
Yeah, that's
it's
funny.
definitely, so it's interesting. And you know what I think it is, Greg? I think it's risk. I think that men handle and manage risk better than women. Women are tend to be worriers, and so we worry a
Yeah.
lot, and I think that when you're taking big
Are you a
risks,
worrier? I'm not gonna
I
stereotype
am
here,
a
but
I am a
oh,
worrier, and I
okay.
worry about everything, and so I think it sometimes keeps me from taking risks because I worry
Yeah.
about it, or if I have taken a big risk, then I eat myself up with the worry, and, I hate to generalize like that, but I think in general, that might be one of the reasons you see it because, it takes a lot of risk, and I tell people if I were 25 and, I'm gonna give everything I had to build a software company, that's fun, that's cool. When you're 50 and you're looking at the other side of things and you're like, "Man, I'm gonna put everything I have into the software company," that's risky.
Yeah.
That's
And it
risky.
is, right? So
It
there's a
is.
risk factor. Let's not tell
Yeah.
and,
So you don't have
there's a
time to
lot of
make
risk
it
in
up,
this game. Yeah,
You
to
gotta it's
invest
sink
your
or
own
swim.
dollars and years of your life and all of this, take years off of your life to handle all of this. I think the practical founder compounding game is the most risk managed version of this. It's not VC all or nothing bet, right? Jump off
Mhm.
the cliff and see
Right.
if it happens. Well, we hear from the ones who built the wings on the way down, as they say, but we don't hear from the 98% who didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
And, there's a lot more guys who will jump off the cliff
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
is what you're saying, among other things. But,
Yeah.
and so there's a place for all of that. I think you're a healthy risk taker, and you're an adventurer. You're doing things, you're pushing it, you're solving the problem, and you care a lot about your BoosterHub customers and the impact it has on schools and these kids. It's really important in the world, right? So
Yeah.
you've taken responsibility to solve this wicked problem out there for everybody. That's really awesome. I really like working with you. We have calls occasionally, and you're a member of one of my peer groups. There's 8 founders in the group, and we meet every month, and we meet at the annual conference and spend other time together. And when there's a conference, a SaaS conference in Austin, we get together there, and everybody comes in and so forth. So I'm
Yeah.
really honored to work with you and help you in your journey. And I see great things here. And what I dream for you is you have the optionality to do what you want. And, someday you're going to get offered a very big prize to sell the company because it's really valuable to others. But I'd like for you to have that moment of pause, whatever you want to do is fine with me, but where you say, well, I'm actually having fun with this, right? And why not do it another 5 years or something like that? And, there's a place for that. So I think that's a great place to be, whether you sell it or not. And it's awesome to see you grow this business before my eyes. It's really cool to see that.
Well, I have to give you credit, Greg. Practical Founders has been a big key to our growth the past year, and not only the company's growth, but my personal growth in leading the company. And
Yeah.
I know the podcast is not a commercial for Practical Founders, but if someone's out
Sometimes it is, you might
yeah,
say, right?
yeah, if
Yeah.
somebody's out there bootstrapping a company and you're working in a silo and you don't have a peer group, they need to give you a call because, not just the group, but also, as we've been through some interesting situations in the past year, you've been a great resource to, sound things off of when I'm
Yeah.
like, "Ah, I don't know what to say. Let me call Greg and see if he can give me some advice." So, thank you for that.
Well, I take no credit for all the work that you do. I don't take any equity either, and, this is the game. You're doing
Yeah.
all the hard things, and I'm honored to, guide you, a little bit, and, our peers are together, guiding, so I'm not the only conversation in the room, right? I'm guiding the conversation, but you're hearing from the other founders as well, the trips and tricks and traps and their experiences, and, we have a question, and they've got feedback, and you take them offline like we had a few of those this week, so there's a lot of learning that's going on that I couldn't do just myself. So I'm happy to be part of it. It's really fun to see.
Well, we enjoyed, and thank you for having us in the group.
Yeah. And what an exciting journey with BoosterHub, this little corner of this little slice of the school, software market that's turning into a big thing. I'm old enough to have remembered when there was no software that was big. And
Yeah.
now everything that's big was little in the beginning and kept on going and didn't stop. So I really think you're going to be one of those things with BoosterHub. So thanks for
Well,
being on the podcast, Robin. Really appreciate it. Thanks for
absolutely.
sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Thanks for watching this week's interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly in-depth interviews with serious software founders who are building valuable software companies without big funding. You can check out my blog, all the podcast episodes, and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com, or message me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. See you next week.